afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching OneSpotMedia.com. A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the words Spot and Media. Amidst lingering concerns about the human papillomavirus HPV vaccine locally, inventor and cervical cancer expert Dr. Richard Shagel is defending his invention, insisting there are no long-term side effects. Speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica on Thursday, Dr. Shagel said the only side effects are similar to those from other childhood vaccines because it may cause pain around the area where administered for a few days, a fever, or a rash, but nothing else. He added that the HPV vaccine will be administered alongside other childhood vaccines in Jamaica.
Rather than stressing the sexually transmitted nature of the disease, it would be better to say, well, you're 10 years old, it's time for your HPV and your other shots. You know, I mean, for example, hepatitis B is a sexually transmitted disease, but we don't advertise it that way. So if we can combine eventually HPV with HPV, it'll be a routine thing. We won't be talking about all of these sexually related issues.
Meanwhile, aside from cervical cancer, Dr. Shagel said the vaccine also helps to prevent many other types of cancers.
At that time, we thought it was restricted mainly to cervical cancer. But now we know it's involved in anal cancers and penile cancers. And in men, it's a big problem, a crescendoing problem in head and neck cancer.
Right.
So
if you get the vaccine, it stops you from getting these diseases, but it doesn't cure you if you have it already.
Exactly. That's right. So you want to get it as early as possible before you get exposed to the virus.
Yep.
As opposition continues to some aspects of the National Identification Law, a member of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society, Shirley Richards, has described the mandatory nature of the bill as inhumane. She was a guest on TVJ's Current Affairs program All Angles last night.
What you're basically saying is, unless people register, you will no longer be able to access the goods and services, the things we take for granted. You know,
water.
the water. Well, there's a little exception there for health. You know, the things you take for granted, the schooling, education of our children, you know, some things that you don't even think about, maybe being able to pay property taxes, maybe being able to renew your license, maybe being able to renew your passport. You know, those things you will be locked out of. You'll be locked out of the system if you do not enroll in it.
Meanwhile, the Jamaican Bar Association is also complaining about several provisions in the National Identification Bill and the manner in which it was passed. In a letter to the Clerk of the Houses of Parliament, the association said the bill was rushed without its input. On previous occasions, the Jamaican Bar said it offered suggestions on other important pieces of legislation. It also expressed concern about the invasive nature of the bill, which allows for the collection of biometric data. The association adds that the mandatory nature of the bill will place ordinary Jamaicans in conflict with the criminal law. In terms of accountability, they want the National Identification and Registration Authority to become a commission of Parliament. The number of public sector groups rejecting the government's wage offer for the 2017-2019 contract period continues to increase. Correctional officers also have turned down the 6% wage offer over the 2 years. Meanwhile, nurses are planning to put more pressure on the government to improve its wage and fringe benefits offer. This follows a meeting yesterday where members of the Nurses Association of Jamaica rejected the 6% proposal. NAJ President Carmen Johnson says the nurses are upset about the offer placed on the table.
Well, the plan is that we are going to be sending back another letter to the Ministry of Finance along with the revised proposal. We'll also be seeking dialogue with our Ministry of Health. So hopefully by next week we're hoping that we should get a response from both ministries so we can know what next will be put on.
The Jamaica Agricultural Society, JAS, is hoping that the heavy rains which the country has been experiencing will not significantly affect the ability of farmers to supply the market for the upcoming Christmas period. The prices of some agricultural produce such as carrots, lettuce and Irish potatoes have doubled or tripled as a result of a shortage due to the continuous rainfall. In an interview with our news center, JAS President Norman Grant described the movement in prices as slight due to lower than projected production. He says drought, the flood rains in April and May, and the beet armyworm also contributed to a tough year for farmers. But he's appealing to the Agriculture Ministry.
Urging the ministry not to resort to think about importing in any massive way, because the farmers will be able, in terms of the 6 weeks and the 8 weeks and the 12 weeks crop, to put those production in place once the weather breaks, and so that we can get the domestic crop production back on track.
In the meantime, Mr. Grant notes that while he was grateful for the $250 million from the Agriculture Ministry, farmers would have been better able to increase their production levels if the government had given at least twice that amount. Chairman of the All-Island Jamaica Cane Farmers Association, Shirley Richards, is calling for the government to ban imported sugar, which he thinks is stifling the local industry. He says imported sugar can be replaced by locally refined sugar called plantation white.
We must move quickly to the point where we do not import any sugar. The 70,000 tons we import of refined sugar, most of it is for processing, and plantation white can do that.
And Mr. Richards was speaking at the All-Island Cane Farmers Association's annual general meeting in Kingston on Wednesday. The Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology has opened a technology center at the Caribbean Maritime University. Speaking at the official opening on Wednesday, Technology Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley said the move is part of efforts to build a knowledge-based digital society.
For the first time in the Caribbean, we have a center that will not only facilitate digital innovations, but will also position us on the cutting edge of industrial development. This fourth industrial revolution is characterized by the fusion of digitalization and automation in order to make machines smart, interactive, and easy to use. Will be, as a matter of fact, I don't want to say that it will soon be a central part of our lives. It is already a central part of our lives, our daily existence. These new technologies, ladies and gentlemen, will have a significant impact on the way we live and work.
He reiterated that with the increased use of smart devices, the government must be prepared to train persons to use various technologies.
We expect to see new industry sectors emerging, such as digital medicine, precision agriculture, and new jobs, ladies and gentlemen, new jobs, such as that of medical robot designs. We need designers to be able to design robots. And of course, as it relates to the electricity sector, grid modernization managers.
Residents of Big Lane in Churchpen, Old Harbour are taking their political representatives to task for failing to fulfill promises to fix a long-standing flooding problem. Residents spoke to TVJ News about a showers Wednesday, which caused extensive damage in the area.
All the while the rainfall, a big flooding. Nobody can pass, nothing can pass. Flood right out. And the gully body want well sort out.
Drainage you want to place with dredge out and concrete and run right out. Make right back to the bridge down there and make the water freely go out. Council them say them come fix it until now. No fixes can go on. We can't live in a system like this. We want better.
A truck driver remains in hospital this afternoon while his sideman was treated and released after the vehicle they were traveling in crashed along the North Coast Highway in Portland on Wednesday. The truck was transporting mostly soft drinks when it ran over a culvert and flipped over. It happened about 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon at Orange Bay, close to the Ormond Lodge Hotel. Looters wasted no time in making off with as much of the drinks as possible, some well equipped with their own means of transporting the goods. And the presence of the police was no deterrent to the looters. A policewoman was even seen recording the looting on camera. A man who says he and a friend were first on the scene explained how they helped to get the injured men to hospital.
You know, so when they Barry from my workplace to boss and when we look at your booth, and we look at the truck, me see crash, and when we come there, man, they already come out already, you see me? Yeah. They already come out already and put them in our kingfisher and send them off.
The matter against 44-year-old Doreen Dyer, the woman who was seen in a video beating her daughter with a machete in St. Thomas, has been adjourned until January 15. Her attorney Bertram Anderson made an application to the judge in court yesterday to indicate a possible sentence in the event that she pleads guilty. A social inquiry report was also ordered. Ms. Dyer was charged last month with cruelty to a child. She was offered bail when she appeared before the St. Thomas Parish Court on October 11. The incident took place a year ago, but the video went viral this year. In news overseas, Zimbabwe's best-known opposition leader, Zimbabwe's best-known opposition leader, Morgan Tsvangirai, is urging President Robert Mugabe to step aside even as the country's military leaders continue their efforts to end the decades-long rule. Tsvangirai, who had been receiving cancer treatment abroad, returned to the store after the military took control and placed Mugabe under house arrest on Wednesday. The political upheaval is believed the result of President Mugabe's efforts to position his wife as his successor. And we go now to news in sports. Jamaica's Nesta Carter, the sixth fastest man in the history, could have to wait until the end of the year before the end of the Court for Arbitration and Sports CAS delivers its verdict in his appeal against the International Olympic Committee's decision to strip him and Jamaica's men's sprint relay team of their gold medal from the 2008 Beijing Olympics. TVJ's Keon Raynor reports.
Embattled Jamaican sprinter Nesta Carter, who had to wait 10 months for the hearing before court's highest court, arrived at the headquarters of CAS along with his two UK-based attorneys, Kendra Potts and Queen's Counsel Kate Gallifant. The 2013 World 100 meters bronze medalist has challenged the IOC's decision to disqualify him and Jamaican teammates Michael Frater, Asafa Powell, Usain Bolt and Dwight Thomas, who ran in the preliminary round after reanalysis of his doping sample from the 2008 Olympic Games found the banned substance methylhexanamine last year. Carter declined to comment at the end of Wednesday's proceedings in Switzerland.
How was your hearing?
Speaking with Reuters TV, Secretary General of CAS, Matthew Reeb, provided an update on the day-long hearing.
We had a full-day hearing. Now there are some final submissions to be filed, and the panel will deliberate probably at the end of this year for a decision later, probably next year.
When this reporter contacted Carter's attorney, Kendra Potts, by telephone on Wednesday afternoon, she declined to comment.
Really sorry. I know. I've just seen your email. I'm sorry. I can't comment because I'm acting for him, I'm afraid.
Meanwhile, Reeb also spoke of the possible outcomes after the panel deliberates on the arguments put forward by both legal teams.
I can confirm that if, in the end, the appeal is upheld by the CAS, then the decision of the IOC would be overturned and rankings that Nesta Carter could obtain at the Olympic Games in Beijing would remain confirmed. While if the appeal is dismissed, the IOC decision will remain in force, which means that Nesta Carter would be disqualified from these games.
Reporting for TVJ Sports, I'm Keon Reyna.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.